I was born upon the ashes of the Holocaust. My father lost his entire family. His father, his mother, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins, an entire family lost. My mother somehow survived, along with her brothers and parents, but they too lost. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. Growing up, I hardly had any family. But one thing I did have, and that was very strong roots. And I understood that when my grandparents came to this country, they had a choice. And this is a choice that each and every one of us has, and most of us will have to face in life, and that is this. When you go through darkness, and when you go through challenge, when you go through loss, and when you go through difficulty, how will I react? Will I become a better person, or will I become a bitter person? Will I choose to sit in the darkness, or will I choose to kindle a light and illuminate? And so this is how we grew up. Wherever you go in life, never allow yourself to sit in darkness. Always kindle a light. Bring blessing to everybody that you know. And so my grandparents, penniless, having lost everything, not knowing the language, started to build again. And the first thing that they did was they began a day school, a yeshiva, because they had left Hungary, and there they had seen a physical Holocaust. They came to America, and here they saw a spiritual Holocaust. My grandfather would walk through the streets of Brooklyn where he lived. He had a long white beard, a black hat, a black coat. It would be in middle of August, and he would walk around, and children would point to him, and they would laugh, and they would say, "Look, Santa Claus in town," and it's August. They had never seen a rabbi before. We grew up understanding that roots are so crucial, because if we don't know where we've come from, then we don't know where we are going. We grew up knowing that wherever life takes you, illuminate, never curse the darkness, never become angry. And so around 25 years ago, I began to teach a group of young couples who were just starting out in life. And they asked me, is there anything that Torah has to say about raising children? I looked at them for a moment and I said, are you kidding? Torah has everything to say. That was almost 25 years ago, and you know what? We are still studying, because it's never over. It's never over. I wrote a book based on our classes called Raising a Child with Soul. As I toured the country, America, I'd like to share with you what I have found. I have found children who have more than we have ever dreamed of. They have PlayStations and Game Boys and American Girl dolls and tennis courts in their backyard, rock climbing walls, all types of gadgets, and still they come up to their parents and say, I'm so bored. There's nothing to do in this house. There's nothing to eat in this house. We have applause. We have taken our children to places we never even dreamed about as children. Trips to Israel, jeeping, swimming with dolphins, canoeing, rafting, Disneyland, amusement parks. But I have never seen so many unhappy children. In fact, I don't know if you've ever been in Disney. Do you want to see the most unhappiest children? Wait online at Disney. And if you cannot be happy in Disney, my dear child, I don't know where you'll be happy. Let's talk about what's going on with communication with our children. We can communicate anywhere, even from an airplane. And yet, we have stopped speaking to each other. The Wall Street Journal calls our homes the dead zone because when mom or dad come home at night, it's dead. Nobody speaks to each other. Everybody's doing this. I was in my community walking, and I saw such a nice sight. I see a mother, a father, and a stroller. And I say to myself, isn't this nice? Whoever takes walks with their babies. What a nice sight. And as I get closer, I see the mother's on her phone, the father's on his phone, and guess what? The 2-year-old is on his own phone. So we've stopped speaking to each other. We are completely disconnected. Go to a restaurant. What's the first thing everybody does? You take out your phone, you put it on the table, and you're not even looking at the person across the room from you. Completely disconnected. What else do we find with our children? We are raising one of the most selfish generations to ever live. What type of pictures do our children take? They're called selfies. Did you ever, growing up, take a picture of yourself? How do you do that? Who even thought of this? Our kids don't even know how to take pictures of other people. It's all of ourselves. How arrogant are we growing? Impatient. You don't even go to a store anymore and wait your turn online. You just go home, turn on the computer, you order, it's there. If you can't even wait online, that means that nobody is in front of you. Nobody comes before you. You are always number one. And the chutzpah. Need I say more? The chutzpah, the disrespect, is incredible. I have stories on file of chutzpah that parents send me. The other day, I was waiting in a dentist office with my kids. A teacher that I know was sitting across from me. We were speaking. Her teenage son comes out, and he says, "Let's go, Ma." And she says, "Well, I'm speaking to Mrs. Wolf." He snaps in her face. I said, "Let's go." Chutzpah, and she's a teacher in a yeshiva. I did not fly across the world to speak to you today about manners. Manners are so easy to teach our children. This is how you say please, and this is how you say thank you, and this is how you answer the phone, and this is how you use a fork and a knife. I am here today to speak about character, raising a child with soul. That's the name of my book. And in every single chapter, we cover the wisdom of Torah, how to give discipline to children, how to teach gratitude, how to raise children who care, compassionate children, children with priorities, children with derech, with awe and respect. You see, the Torah's wisdom is timeless, it is forever, it is immutable, and it is true. If you would go to a store now, to a bookshop, and you would say, "Give me a book on parenting," you would buy the book, you would read the book, and then you would let your baby cry, and you would do all the things it says in the book, and 2 years later, you'd go into the same shop, and you'd pick up another book, and the book would say, "You let your baby cry. Oh my God, do you know what kind of therapy this child's going to need?" But the wisdom of Torah is forever. It never changes. So today we are going to discover together the wisdom of Torah as we raise our children with soul. Every Friday night, women all over the world light Shabbos candles. And when we do, we close our eyes and we make a prayer. And we say, Zakeni legdel banim. Privilege me, Almighty God, to raise children, because it is a privilege to raise children. To bring a neshama, to bring a soul into this world is a privilege. Zakeni legdel banim, privilege me to raise children. But what type of children? It's not enough just to bring a child into this world. Anshe emes, children who stand for truth, for kindness, for goodness, for sensitivity. A child who, whether I am in the room or not, this child does the right thing. This child stands for what's right. Values, character, roots, honesty, emes, chesed, kindness. We spend so much time as parents speaking about what our children will wear, the type of car we're going to buy, the type of stroller, where they're going to go to school, where they're going to go to camp, where we will vacation. How often do mother and father sit down and say, what are we going to do about our daughter's character? What are we going to do about our son who seems to be jealous? What are we going to do because this child is a little bit chutzpahdik, disrespectful? How are we going to possibly teach character and neshama, soul, to our children? We have a window, and that window is very small. And once children get older, they stop listening as well. They stop seeing as well because they think that they know better. So today, let us discuss together how to reach our children's neshama, their souls. How to raise a child with soul. Where do we begin? The foundation of every home. There's a physical foundation when you build a home, and you check it, and you make sure it's solid, and you make sure there are no cracks. Just as there's a physical foundation, there must be a spiritual foundation. And what is the spiritual foundation of every home? In Hebrew, in Judaism, we say, hakaras hatov. Hakaras hatov means appreciation, an attitude of gratitude. To raise children with appreciation for who is in their life, for what they have, for every moment, for the time that we have together. An attitude of gratitude. Now let me ask you something. Why do you think it is so difficult for children today to have this attitude of gratitude? Why is it that nothing is ever good enough? Why is it that there are so many angry kids out there? Whatever you get them, you get a stomachache because you know that somehow somebody will not be happy. Whether it's dinner at night, a trip, a game, a toy, an outfit. There's always somebody crying, somebody in a bad mood, somebody going to their room. And then you say, you know what, if that's how it is, I'm not going to do it again for you. You don't have to come next time. And there's such a bad feeling in the home. Why? Why are they so unhappy? Why such a lack of appreciation? Where does it begin? I saw this problem many years ago when I made a special party for my little girl. Now she's a married mommy of children, thank God. When she was just a little child, I made an arts and crafts party for her in a local shop. At the end of the party, all the little girls left, and I noticed there's hooks on the wall, and on the hooks there must have been around 6, 7, 8 coats. And I say to the owner, I say to him, I'm so sorry, I guess we'll have to wait because the parents are going to come back and pick up their children's coats. Do you know what he said to me? No, nobody comes back. I have in the basement a huge bag of coats. They just buy another one. And you know what? He was right. Nobody came back. We live in a disposable society. You lose a sweatshirt, stop crying, we will get another one. We spoke this morning about children who go to camp with trunks full of clothing. They come back, you can lift it with a pinky. Did you ever go to a school at the end of the year and see the lost and found? Baseball caps, sweatshirts, balls, jackets, hats, gloves, scarves. You could clothe a village, and nobody comes back to claim it. And what we teach our children is that we live in a disposable society where everything is replaceable. And when everything is replaceable, we stop appreciating what we have. And after a while, not only things are replaceable, but people become replaceable. And we stop cherishing and appreciating the people in our lives because nothing has value anymore. Our children have stopped appreciating what they have. And they have stopped appreciating the parents in their lives because we keep replacing and things are cheap. And so children grow very arrogant and entitled. Ew, that's for supper? Supper's not ready? You got me that? Did you ever drive a carpool? Were you ever late for a carpool? How do children get into the car? Mom, you're 10 minutes late. We're waiting here. How many children say thank you? Did you ever fly with children on a plane? How many children say thank you when they're served a drink, a snack? How often do you sit in a restaurant and the kids are just playing with the food and making a huge mess? Who says thank you to the server? Let me ask you something. Is a thank you so crucial to a child's character, or is it just manners as we spoke? Now, everything that we discussed today is going to be based on Torah's wisdom. And Torah tells us something incredible. Every morning when you and I wake up, there are two words that must be the first words that come out of our mouths. And what are those two words? Modeh ani. What does modeh ani mean? I thank you. I thank you, God, for my day. And do you know why this is so crucial? Because when I wake up in the morning, the first thing that I must do is focus. I must have a compass that points me into this direction of attitude of gratitude. Some people wake up in the morning, and I know people like this. I'm sure you do too. Not anyone in this room. They wake up and the first thought is, "Oy, now what's my problem again? I can't handle my life." Torah teaches us the first words out of our mouths every single day. Modeh ani, I thank you, God, for my life. I am given this gift of life, and now I must make the most out of my day. Attitude of gratitude. And once I have it, I'm able to transmit it to my children. You see, when we parent our children, we parent ourselves. In vain do I want to raise a happy child if I am miserable. In vain do I want to raise a child who has gratitude if I'm a blamer and complainer. So one of the first rules I give parents is, look in the mirror. Would you want to wake up to yourself? What do your children see when they see your face in the morning? What do they hear? Attitude of gratitude. Modeh ani does not only mean I thank you. Modeh ani means ani modeh, I admit. Now here's the key to humility. You see, I admit, God, that without your gift of life, I'm helpless. I have nothing. I need you, God. And that means that I am humbled. How can I possibly be arrogant if I need you? So when we teach children to say thank you, it's not only saying thank you, It's saying, Mom, thank you, I need you. Daddy, thank you. I couldn't do this without you. The first step in teaching children humility is to teach them to say thank you. So the next time you say to your child, do you want some sneakers, sweetie? And they go, whatever. Should I make you some macaroni? Fine. It's not fine. It's not whatever. Thank you. Thank you. It's not, Mom, you have to drive me to soccer practice. Dad, you have to take me to school. I have to? Mommy, can you please drive me? Daddy, can you please take me? Thank you. And if I don't teach it to this child, they will just grow more and more entitled and arrogant. And this one I love. Mom, you owe me $20. I owe you? I owe you $20? 1 second. I gave life to you. But do you know what we do? We say, oh my gosh, you are right, and I don't have change. What are we doing? So we must teach our children this attitude of gratitude, and it begins by saying, thank you. Thank you, Mommy, and thank you, Daddy. Now, how do we begin to do that? Number one, we learn from the Torah that we must have an appreciation of the people in our lives. And we learn this from Moses. We all know the story of Moses. When it came to the 10 plagues, and it came to the first plague of blood, of dam, God said to Moses, you cannot hit the Nile River. Your brother Aaron must. Do you know why? Because when you were a baby, Moses, you were in a basket, and the basket was placed in the river, and the river saved your life. So you cannot hit the river because you must have an attitude of gratitude. Now let me ask you something. We're all intelligent here. We're all adults. Does the river feel? The river knows the difference if Moses hits or not? It doesn't make sense. But God was not concerned. God was not concerned with the feelings of the river. God was concerned with the character of Moses. You must learn this attitude of gratitude. And yes, the river was flowing anyway, so what's the big deal? Did the river go out of its way? No, but Torah is teaching us the most crucial of parenting lessons. Yes, the river was supposed to flow. And yes, the bus driver is supposed to drive, and the teacher is supposed to teach, and mommy is supposed to be there for you, and have dinner for you, and have a loving home for you, and daddy is supposed to be there for you, and study with you, and take you to football or soccer. But that, my child, does not mean that you do not have a right and responsibility to say thank you. Thank you to the teacher, and thank you to the bus driver, and thank you to the security guard, and thank you to mom, and thank you to dad. Lesson number 1 of parenting: to open up our children's eyes to those in their lives that they take for granted. It's crucial for a child's character. Appreciation also comes when we teach our children to appreciate time. How often do we say, I have 10 minutes to kill? A child could sit 4 hours playing a video game. Do you know what that is? Time is such a precious gift. I want to tell you something. When I was a little girl, I had a Zaidi. My Zaidi was so beautiful. He had a long white beard. Whenever he would look at me, his eyes would get moist because I was named for his mother, who had been killed in the Holocaust. He had so much love. I never heard an angry voice, an angry word. And every Saturday night we had a tradition. The cousins would get together in our home, and after we would play and run around a little bit, my Zaidi would do this, give a little bang so everyone would be quiet, and then
he would make a blessing, and he would say, Shehecheyanu v'kiyimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Thank you, Almighty God, for bringing me to this time. And then I remember my Zaidi would cry. And I remember being a little girl and saying, why is my Zaidi crying? Like, this is so weird. What's there to cry about with cousins getting together on a Saturday night? But now that I am a mother, and thank God a grandmother myself, I understand the tears. Because children go in different directions so quickly. And you want so badly to hold on to that time. I could never have imagined walking my sons and my daughter down the chuppah, and my father's place would be empty. What I would not give for one more blessing, one more kiss from my father, one more time to just hold his hand, one more dance. Time is so precious, and we must teach our children to appreciate the gift of time. Being in a family is a privilege, and we must open their eyes. To teach our children an attitude of gratitude. The third way is when both mother and father show appreciation to each other. Do you know that there are some children who grow up and never hear parents say thank you to each other? Because we take each other for granted. So how would it be possible that our children not take us for granted? My husband is here in the audience, and every Friday night he gives me a gift, and I'd like to acknowledge that. No matter who is in our home, guests or not, when the meal is over, in front of our children, my husband says, thank you for a most beautiful Shabbos. Now let me ask you something. Would I do the Shabbos anyway? Could it ever be that I say, listen guys, I wasn't in the mood today, so there's just no Shabbos. Of course I'm making Shabbos, but to hear appreciation means that you don't take your spouse and your family for granted. So if we want children to appreciate us, then as husbands and wives, we must express this appreciation for each other. So the next time you take your children out to buy sneakers or clothing or stuff for camp, take out your cell phone and do something good with it. Put them on their phone, have them dial your husband and say, thank you, Daddy, because I know you're making this possible. Thank you, Mommy, because you are taking me, and I know you're making this possible. We must open our children's eyes so that they don't grow entitled. And when it comes to gratitude, my friends, we must see parenting as a privilege and a gift. We have stopped seeing our world as a world full of color. And it's as if we see it in black and white. Okay, how fast can we get them into bed, do homework, get them to eat, and we call it a night. Because we're tired, we're stressed. But we lose the beauty of the moment. We must resolve today when we leave here to see life with an ayin tov, with a good eye, a positive eye, parenting with a positive eye. It's not just to get through the day. Do you know what you and I are doing? We are raising the next generation of Am Yisrael, of the Jewish people. And how they see our God and our faith, how they see kindness and empathy and sensitivity, all begins with us. And if I see the world with a positive eye, then so too will my children. And I learned this when I first got married. I will tell you something very personal. And I have my husband's permission, so thank God he's here. My husband comes from São Paulo, Brazil. And when we first got married, believe it or not, we conversed in Hebrew because he did not speak a great English, thank God he does today, and I certainly did not speak Portuguese. So after the wedding, my husband said to me in his little English, so now we go to Brazil for 9 months and we stay 3 months in America. And I said, what are you talking about? You said 9 months in America and 3 months in Brazil. A little miscommunication. So I travel with my husband to Brazil. And I'll tell you the truth. I was very happily married, but miserable in Brazil. Everyone tried. I even taught in the school a little. He told me after that he got me the position without telling me. But it wasn't home. So my husband said, I have a wonderful idea. How about if someone from the family comes and visits? I said, good, great. Nobody wanted to come. Finally, one person in the family said, I will come. And who said she will come? My grandmother, Mama. Now, Mama was this high. Mama did not speak good English. Mama had a stecken, a cane, and nobody started up with my mama. Mama said she will come to Brazil, and she did. And I could not wait for Mama because I could not wait for Mama to say to me, I feel so bad for you. How do you do this? You are so fabulous. So I go to the airport, and I wait, and here comes Mama, and we get in the car, and I'm waiting to hear, and I hear Mama say, Yai. Yai is Hungarian for wow. Mama says, Yai. And I say, what, Mama? And Mama says, Yai, look at the trees. I say, the trees? Mama says, Yai, are these palm trees? I say, yeah. I've never seen such beautiful trees in my life. Slavachanala, you are so lucky to be here. And I look at her, and she says, now I can die. And I learned a lesson that day, a big lesson. And the lesson is to see the trees. Because we all have choices in life. Every one of us sitting in this room, we have bracha, we have blessing, and we have challenges. And we can either choose to see the challenges and say, I can't. Or we could say, I have blessing. Look at the trees. What a life. Moda ani. Thank you, Almighty God, for this life. Attitude of gratitude, number 1. Number 2, we would want to teach our children compassion. Chesed. Who doesn't want to raise a compassionate child? Let me ask you something, and answer in your mind and in your heart. When was the very last time that you saw your child be compassionate? Not for a friend, not for somebody he or she likes, but to feel the pain of another. To be sensitive for another. When was the last time? Even for a child to give a chair for another. Did you ever see a parent say to a child, maybe, stand up and give your seat? I should stand up and give my seat. Compassion. To feel pain. What does the Torah tell us about teaching children pain? When Moses was a little child, he grew up in the palace of Pharaoh. And the Torah gives us such a beautiful lesson. It says, Vayigdal hanar, and the boy grew. And he went out to see his brethren. And then it says again that he grew. And our sages ask us, how is it that Moses grew twice? Our sages teach us. The first time he grew in years. But he had a choice, and the choice was, I can either stay in my palace and be comfortable. Because what does it do for me to go out and see the pain of my brothers and sisters? Or I can choose to go out and see the pain, and then it says, Vayigdal, and he grew. He grew as a human being. Do you want to know how to raise a gadol, a great child? Teach your child to feel the pain of another. I learned this from my very own child. When my daughter was just 4 or 5 years old, we were new in my community, and she didn't have friends. And so I said to her, you know what, Shandy, I'm going to get a class list, and you can choose any girl from the class to invite over. And she chose a little girl whose name was Saraleya. And I called up Saraleya's mommy, and she was so happy, and she said, I will send my daughter to your house tomorrow. The next day, the little school bus comes. My daughter, Shandy, gets out of the bus. Off comes the bus monitor, and she says to me, good luck. I say, good luck? Who says good luck for a play date? And then comes this little girl. She's sucking her thumb. She can hardly walk. And the whole time, she's just clutching my daughter's shirt for 2 hours. This is the play date. And I'm thinking to myself, what is my daughter thinking? The little girl leaves, and I call my daughter into the room. And I say to her, Shandy, sweetie, Mommy wants to just talk to you for a minute. Is Saraleya your friend, honey? And she says to me, no, Mommy, Saraleya has no friends. And I say to her, well, do you play with Saraleya in school, maybe? And she says to me, no, Mommy, Saraleya, she doesn't know how to play. So, sweetie, why did you invite Saraleya over? Oh, Mommy, she says, every day, Mora calls out names. Who is going to go to whose home? And every day, Saraleya cries because Mora never calls her name. Mommy, I just didn't want Saraleya to cry anymore. I just didn't want her to cry. That's what we call a gadol. That's what we call great. If you have a child who is talented, who is popular, it's not enough for a child to get an A+ or do well on exams. Say to that child, you must be a Moshe. When you are captain of the football team, when you are sitting on a bus and everyone is sitting together, there is a girl in the back that nobody says, how are you? Come sit here. There is a boy on the field and nobody picks him. You pick him because God gave you a gift. And use your gift to make this world a better place. We must teach our children to be a Moshe. Get out of the bubble. Get out of the palace. Feel for others. Pray for others. Tonight when you go home, take your children to the side and ask them to pray for those 3 young boys who are missing. Our children cry for so many silly things like toys and licorice and chocolate. When was the last time they cried for the pain of another? We have to teach our children to be a Moshe. That's how we raise children who are compassionate, who care. You don't have to go traveling. Just look in your child's classroom. How many children sit at home because no one invites them for a pizza, for a birthday party? Open your eyes. If God gave you a gift, use it to make this world a better place. There's so much I want to say, and I have my 5-minute sign, okay? So I'm going to then leave you with this. As parents, we wonder, does it really, really make a difference? We can speak about giving children bedtime, Shema, and giving them Shabbos candles, and gentle words. As a parent, We've changed millions of diapers, wiped hundreds of noses, thrown thousands of balls, made how many lunches. Nobody gives me an award as Mother of the Year for that or Father of the Year. Is that great? What does it mean to be a great parent? And this is my final message because I'm leaving you for Cape Town. And please remember this with all my heart. I spoke to you yesterday about my beautiful father. In the very last days of my father's life, my daughter, who was then only 8 years old, said to me, "Mommy, I want to visit Abba Zeta in the hospital." And I said to her, "My bubbala, my shandy, I don't think it's a good idea. Abba's so sick. He won't see you. He won't hear you. It will be very difficult for you." And she said, "Please, Mommy. Please, Mommy." And so I took my little girl to the hospital with me. When we walked into the room, all you heard were the pulse of machines. My father's eyes were closed. He didn't see us. He didn't hear us. We walked close to the bed, and my daughter said, "Mommy, would it be okay if I sing for Abba Zeta?" "Sure, sweetie," I said. "What would you like to sing?" And she said to me, "I'd like to sing Hamalach HaGoel, the angel who watched over me. Because, Mommy, every night when Abba Zeta would be over our home, he would sing that for me. And now I want to sing it for him." And so she began to sing, this little girl, and her voice filled the hospital room. And when she was done, the room was silent. Slowly, very slowly, I saw my father with all his strength raise one hand, and I couldn't understand what he was doing. And then he raised the other. A final applause for a child. A great parenting moment to show, I love you, I care. It will never be in the news. It will never be on Yahoo. But for this child and for this daughter, it is forever here. And that's what it means to raise a child with love. I thank you so much for listening.
All English lectures are available online at hedobroot.com.